In this world, wealth is not a friend. It is a weapon, a force, and above all, a servant to those who know how to command it. Most men live their lives chained to money, serving it, begging for it, sacrificing their dignity for scraps. But there is another way, a path where money bends toward you, where wealth, like loyal soldiers, marches in your direction. The problem is simple: you chase money, yet it always runs faster. You work harder and still it slips from your grasp. Why? Because you never learn to make money come to you. In this lesson, Niccolò Machiavelli, will show you 6 things you must do. Do them well, and wealth itself will hunt you down as a hound hunts its prey. Reputation is the true gold that precedes all coin. Before you can ever touch wealth, before you can ever hold power, the world must first believe you are worthy of it. Understand this: money does not come to the invisible man, nor does it serve the desperate. It bends itself toward the figure who has already shaped an aura of strength, who has carved his presence into the minds of others. And that presence, that invisible crown upon your head, is your reputation. In the courts of princes, I observe one simple truth. Rulers were not feared because of the gold they possessed, but because of the image they projected. Their treasury was a consequence, not the cause. When a man appeared powerful, disciplined, cunning, others rushed to bring him gifts, to align with his name, to secure his favor. Wealth was not something they chased. It was something that naturally drifted toward them, like iron to a magnet. You, too, must learn to command this magnet, and that magnet is your reputation. Most men squander their image because they live as though appearances do not matter. They believe that only their actions count. They are fools. Appearance often outweighs reality, for people do not see your soul, they only see the mask you present. A man who is careless with his mask, who lets himself be perceived as weak, foolish, unreliable, or common, destroys the very foundation upon which wealth could have been built. Even if he possesses some skill or talent, it will remain buried beneath the soil, unseen, unvalued, and unrewarded. Consider the merchants of Florence. The ones who prospered were not always those with the finest goods, but those who appeared to be the most trustworthy, the most respected, the most established. A merchant with a fine reputation could sell even mediocre wares for gold, while one with poor reputation could not sell diamonds without suspicion. Wealth follows reputation, not the other way around. And so, you must guard your name with the same ferocity that a lion guards his territory. This is why I say to you, never allow slander, insult, or dishonor to stain your image. If you permit others to cast doubt on your strength, if you let their words linger in the minds of men, then your reputation will rot, and with it, your chances at fortune. You must defend your name quickly, ruthlessly, and publicly. Let others learn that your reputation is untouchable, and they will not dare to test it again. In politics, I saw men rise and fall not by the size of their armies, but by the health of their image. A single rumor, left unchecked, destroyed more rulers than invading legions ever could. But guarding your reputation is not enough. You must also cultivate it, shape it, and turn it into a weapon. Ask yourself, how do you wish to be perceived? As a man of strength, as a figure of cunning, as one who inspires fear, respect, or admiration? Choose carefully, for this image will determine the quality of wealth and power that comes to you. Once chosen, live in such a way that every action, every word, every appearance reinforces that image. Do not scatter your identity like a beggar scattering crumbs. Build it deliberately, consistently, like the sculptor chisels the marble until the statue commands awe. And understand this: it is better to be feared than to be loved when it comes to wealth. Those who fear losing your favor will bring you riches to secure it. Those who merely love you may admire you, but admiration alone does not fill a treasury. Do not confuse kindness with power, for power attracts fortune, while kindness, if not tempered with strength, attracts parasites. Let your reputation be sharp, edged with authority, so that others recognize that to align with you is gain, but to oppose you is ruin. There is another truth I must reveal to you. Wealth itself, once acquired, multiplies your reputation, but it cannot create it from nothing. Men respect the wealthy because they assume wealth is the fruit of power. But if you lack power, if you lack presence, your wealth, should you somehow acquire it, will be fragile, like gold placed in the hands of a child. It will slip away, taken by those with stronger names and sharper images. Therefore, reputation must come first before coin, for it is reputation that defends and multiplies whatever fortune you build. Think of reputation as the fortress of your life. Gold is the army stationed within its walls. Without the fortress, the army is vulnerable and soon scattered. With the fortress, even a modest army can repel invaders. Build your fortress of reputation high, strong and unshakable, and then you will find that wealth enters willingly, seeking refuge within your name. The common man believes that the path to wealth is paved with sweat, with aching muscles, and with endless hours sacrificed at the altar of labor. He ties his worth to the clock, sells his life in fragments, and dies having earned little more than survival. But the truth known only to rulers, merchants, and cunning men, is this: labor alone does not build fortunes. Leverage does. A man who works with his hands may live, but a man who works with leverage commands. Wealth flows not to the one who serves tirelessly, but to the one who multiplies his reach without multiplying his chains. You must understand that time is the great equalizer. The poor man has 24 hours. The rich man has 24 hours. But the rich man, unlike the poor, does not work alone within those hours. He employs others, commands systems, and directs forces far beyond his individual body. This is the art of leverage. In Florence, I watched how merchants rose above their competitors. Some filled their days selling goods with their own hands. They worked early, slept late, and yet remained ordinary. Others, the wiser ones, learned to multiply themselves. They employed agents to sell for them, clerks to manage their records, ships to carry their wares across seas. While the first man grew weary, the second man grew wealthy. His time was multiplied by the labor of others, and his fortune expanded while he rested, while he dined, even while he slept. Do not be deceived. Leverage is not merely about commanding men. It is about commanding systems. In my age, it was ships, contracts, and alliances. In your age, it is technology, networks, and capital. But the principle is eternal. The fool relies only on his own back. The strategist bends the backs of circumstances, tools, and people to carry his weight. This is why princes employ ministers, why generals command armies, why bankers direct treasuries. Alone, they could achieve nothing of scale. With leverage, they shape the destiny of nations. You must look at your life and ask, where am I a servant to time? If your income ceases when you cease to labor, then you are still a peasant in disguise. To rise above, you must create channels through which money flows to you without your constant hand stirring it. This requires strategy, foresight, and at times a certain coldness, for leverage demands that you place the burden not on yourself but on others, on their labor, their fear, their desire for your favor. And do not mistake leverage for laziness. It is not the absence of work, but the multiplication of it. The great strategist still exerts effort, but he chooses wisely where to exert it. He builds the machine, but he does not push it endlessly. He lays the foundation, but he does not carry every stone. His genius is not in doing everything, but in making everything serve him. The mediocre man prides himself on how hard he works. The powerful man prides himself on how much his work commands. There is also a darker truth here. Those who live without leverage are disposable. When a servant grows tired, he is replaced. When a laborer demands more, he is discarded. They are interchangeable, and wealth does not cling to what is replaceable. But the man who builds systems, the one who commands networks, becomes irreplaceable. He becomes the hub, the center of power, even when he lifts not a finger. money chases him, for to cut him out would collapse the entire structure. You must position yourself so that wealth has no choice but to come through you. The clever prince knew this instinctively. He did not fight on the battlefield himself. He sent armies to fight in his name. He did not collect every coin himself. He had treasurers and collectors. He did not sit in every negotiation. He had envoys and advisors. And yet, all fruits of their work returned to him. He owned their time without surrendering his own. This is the mastery of leverage. Look carefully at the world around you. Every wealthy figure you admire has achieved this same mastery. They built businesses where others toil, investments where money multiplies itself, influence where favors are returned tenfold. Their wealth is not chained to their hours, because their hours command far beyond their physical presence. And so, if you wish to have money chase you, you must stop thinking like the worker and begin thinking like the commander. You must learn to detach your fortune from the limits of your body and attach it instead to the limitless engines of leverage. When you do this, the hours of others will serve your wealth, the skills of others will expand your reach, and the flow of money will cease to be a trickle from your labor and become a flood that surges in your direction. A man who builds his life on dependence builds his palace on quicksand. The illusion of stability comforts him, but when the ground shifts, all collapses into ruin. Dependency is slavery disguised as safety. And a slave, no matter how well fed, no matter how seemingly secure, cannot command wealth. He can only serve it. Observe the man who depends on one master for his bread. Perhaps it is a ruler, perhaps it is an employer, perhaps it is a single fragile stream of income that flows into his hands. He believes himself fortunate, but in truth, he has placed a knife to his own throat. For at the slightest displeasure of his master, or at the smallest disruption to that single stream, he is left naked, powerless, and desperate. Wealth flees from such men because wealth abhors fragility. In my time, I saw courtiers who survived entirely on the favor of princes. They basked in wealth so long as the ruler smiled upon them. But the moment the prince's mood turned, they were stripped of titles, coin, and dignity, cast into the streets as beggars. Their wealth was never their own. It was borrowed, fragile, a shadow that vanished with the sun. And yet I also observed another kind of man, the one who built many ties, who cultivated income not from one source, but from many. This man could lose favor with one prince and still prosper with another. He could lose one stream of wealth and yet feed himself from others. He was not a servant, but a strategist, and wealth followed him because it knew he could not be broken by a single strike. This is the principle you must absorb. Dependency is weakness. Independence is power. If all your gold comes from one source, you are not a master, you are a servant, even if you dress yourself in fine robes. A man truly free commands multiple doors through which wealth can enter. If one closes, others remain open. This is why you must diversify, not merely for profit, but for survival. Wealth will not chase a man who balances on one leg. It pursues the one whose stance is firm, supported on many. But let me speak plainly. Dependence is not only financial. It creeps into the mind. Many men are dependent on the approval of others, on the validation of society, on the opinions of those who secretly envy them. Such men can never command wealth, for their self-worth is tied to fragile strings. Cut those strings, and they collapse. The man who desires fortune must not only free himself from financial dependency, but from psychological dependency as well. You must not crave the permission of others before you act. You must not require their applause before you rise. You must be your own master, within and without. Only then will money recognize you as one worthy of pursuit. Consider also how dependency gives birth to fear. A man who depends entirely on one master dares not speak truth. He dares not act boldly. He trembles at the thought of losing his position, his income, his fragile security. Fear chains him, and fear prevents him from seizing greater wealth. He becomes cautious, timid, invisible. Wealth, like a lion, does not follow timidity. It follows dominance. And so the dependent man dies poor, while the independent man, who risks, who builds many sources, who fears no single loss, attracts fortune like fire attracts air. Even in the affairs of states, this principle remains constant. A nation that depends on one ally, one trade route, one crop, one army, is a nation vulnerable to collapse. But a nation with many alliances, many industries, many armies stands secure. The same rule applies to you, though you are but one man. Multiply your avenues. Secure your streams. Build independence so deep that even the strongest storm cannot wash it away. Do not misunderstand me. Independence does not mean isolation. It means you hold the power of choice. You may align with others, you may employ others, you may work under others, but only because you choose to, not because you must. The difference is subtle, but it marks the line between a master and a slave. When your income, your fortune, and your dignity rely on a single chain, you are bound. But when you weave many, you are free to cut one without falling into ruin. This is why dependency is the silent killer of wealth. It breeds complacency, blinds you to risk, and keeps you shackled to the mercy of others. To command fortune, you must cut these chains. You must become a man who, if one door slams shut, walks confidently through another. That confidence is power. That power attracts fortune. And fortune, like every servant, is drawn to the master who does not bow to chains. Gold may glitter, but it fades. Power may be stolen, but knowledge, once carved into your mind, cannot be taken from you. It is the sharpest weapon, the truest currency, and the only treasure that multiplies when shared. Understand this well. While most men chase coin, the wise man chases understanding. For coin can be stolen, squandered, or devalued, but knowledge only grows, and with it, your ability to command fortune itself. Look at the merchants of Florence. The richest among them were not merely those with ships or warehouses filled with goods. Those possessions could burn, rot, or sink beneath the waves. Their true wealth was not stored in vaults, but in their minds. They understood markets, they understood contracts, they understood people. That knowledge could rebuild fortunes lost, outwit rivals, and turn opportunities invisible to the unlearned into fountains of gold. If a storm destroyed their ships, they built new ones. If a prince seized their property, they negotiated new alliances. Their wealth persisted because their wisdom guided them. The common man, however, despises learning. He seeks shortcuts, easy profits, and quick pleasures. He believes that luck or labor will deliver him fortune. He is blind. His ignorance leaves him dependent on the cunning of others, enslaved by the rules he never bothered to study. He is like a soldier who charges into battle without a sword, praying that strength alone will win. He is not feared, not respected, and not rewarded. Such men live and die as pawns. You must decide whether to be pawn or player, and the difference is knowledge. Not the shallow kind, not gossip or trivia, but rare, valuable knowledge that few possess. Knowledge of finance, knowledge of strategy, knowledge of human nature. These are the currencies more precious than gold. For when you understand what others do not, you wield invisible power. You can see moves before they are made. You can exploit weakness before it is revealed, and you can seize opportunity before others even recognize it exists. Consider how princes chose their advisors. They did not choose them for wealth they already had. They chose them for wisdom, for insight, for knowledge that could win wars and preserve thrones. One cunning advisor, armed with understanding, was worth more than 1,000 soldiers. Why? Because knowledge guided armies, directed coin, and manipulated enemies. In this, nothing has changed. In your world, kings are called corporations, battles are waged in markets, and armies are networks of influence. Yet still, knowledge determines victory. Knowledge is also leverage, for with it, you can command what others cannot. A man with rare skill can demand any price. A man with uncommon insight can bend entire systems to his advantage. Others may work harder, but he profits more, because he knows what they do not. This is the secret of the strategist. He does not run faster, he knows the shortcuts. He does not lift heavier. He knows how to move the weight with less effort. He does not gamble blindly. He understands the odds before the dice are cast. And let me tell you this, knowledge breeds confidence. The ignorant man hesitates, doubts, trembles at risk. The wise man acts decisively because he knows what others can only guess. That decisiveness is power. That power inspires trust, draws allies, and intimidates rivals. Even if you possess only modest coin, if your mind is sharp and your knowledge deep, others will follow you, respect you, and place their wealth in your hands, trusting your vision more than their own. But beware, knowledge without application is vanity. Do not study endlessly without acting. Knowledge must be sharpened into a blade, tested in the world, and wielded in battle. Otherwise, it rusts into uselessness. Learn, but learn to apply. Study not for the pleasure of appearing clever, but for the ability to seize wealth, secure power, and bend fortune to your command. And understand also that true knowledge is often hidden. It is not found in the words of the masses, for they are blind. It is not found in the chatter of fools, for they repeat what others already know. True knowledge is rare, difficult, uncomfortable. It is discovered by those willing to look deeper, to question assumptions, to observe reality without the illusions that comfort weaker men. You must seek it where others dare not look, and in doing so, you will possess what others cannot even imagine. The man who invests his coin in fleeting luxuries remains poor. The man who invests his coin in sharpening his mind, in acquiring rare understanding, becomes a fortress that no thief can plunder. For even if stripped of all possessions, he can rebuild. He can begin again, stronger than before, because his true wealth was never in his purse, but in his mind. And this, above all else, is why knowledge is the highest form of currency, the truest weapon, and the surest path to making fortune chase you. The poor man is enslaved not by chains of iron, but by chains of impatience. He craves, he consumes, he squanders. He spends his gold before it multiplies, devours his harvest before planting the next seed, and sells his future for the sweetness of the present. This is why fortune mocks him, abandoning him to chase those who understand the long game. Wealth is not captured by those who sprint after it blindly. It belongs to the strategist, the one who can endure hunger today to feast on an empire tomorrow. Every prince I observed, every ruler who endured, had one trait in common: they thought beyond the moment. The weak prince delighted in immediate pleasures, lavish banquets, reckless wars, the applause of the crowd. He was celebrated briefly, then destroyed swiftly. But the strong prince endured, because he thought like a chess player, always sacrificing pawns for the checkmate. He denied himself what was petty in order to secure what was permanent. This same principle governs wealth. If you seek money to spend, you will remain forever poor. If you seek money to build, it will multiply until it serves you without end. Look around you. Men of impatience litter the streets. They spend their earnings on trinkets, pleasures, and fleeting entertainment. They wish to look wealthy rather than be wealthy. They live for admiration instead of power. And so, though they may shine for a moment, fortune abandons them. Meanwhile, those who appear modest, who restrain their consumption, who channel their gold into investments and foundations, become the ones whom money pursues relentlessly. Their restraint creates gravity, and wealth, like all things, is drawn to gravity. The long game requires discipline, and discipline requires a coldness most men lack. To say no when temptation whispers, to wait while others indulge, to endure while others collapse. This is the mark of the true commander of fortune. A soldier who charges blindly into battle wins a moment's glory and dies a fool. A general who holds his forces, waits for the precise moment, and strikes when the enemy is weakest. He wins the war. So it is with wealth. You must think as the general, not the soldier. Impatience blinds men to opportunity. They demand fruit before the tree has grown. They abandon ventures before they mature. They sell investments for quick gain, only to watch others reap fortunes from what they once held. The patient man, however, watches, waits, nurtures. He sees the seed become a tree, the tree become a forest, and the forest become a kingdom. This is the long game, and wealth does not resist him. It chases him, because he has created a fortress too vast for fortune to ignore. The long game also requires vision. Most men cannot see beyond tomorrow. They think in days, perhaps weeks, rarely in years. But wealth demands years, decades, generations. A prince does not build a fortress for one season. He builds it so that his children and grandchildren may inherit its walls. The same must be true for you. If you wish money to chase you, build structures that endure. Invest in enterprises that outlive you. Position yourself not for applause today, but for dominance tomorrow. And consider this, the long game is not merely about accumulating wealth. It is about using wealth to cement power. A fool with gold spends it on comfort. A strategist with gold spends it on influence, on assets that generate more wealth, on positions that secure authority. Money used wisely becomes an army. Money wasted foolishly becomes a fleeting memory. If you command the long game, you do not just become rich, you become untouchable. The poor remain poor because they live for today. They eat their harvest before winter. They celebrate victory before the war is over. They exhaust their strength before the true battle begins. The rich, the powerful, those who understand the psychology of wealth, they wait, they calculate, they sacrifice. They suffer in silence while others boast, and when the dust settles, they stand alone and fortune stands with them. Wealth, like a wild beast, cannot be caught by chasing it recklessly. It must be lured, trapped, and tamed. This requires patience, cunning, and above all, the ability to see further than the crowd. You must delay gratification, not as a virtue, but as a weapon. You must resist the seductions of the moment, not because you are weak, but because you are building something greater than the moment can provide. This is how wealth begins to chase you, when you stop running after crumbs and start constructing a feast that others will fight to serve you. You have now seen what the common man refuses to see. Wealth is not a prize given to those who chase it with desperation. It is a servant that kneels before those who command it with strategy. Reputation, leverage, independence, knowledge, and patience. These are not mere virtues, they are weapons. Wield them without mercy, and you will find that fortune bends toward you, unable to escape your grasp. The poor live by labor, the powerful live by command. The poor survive on dependency, the powerful build fortresses of independence. The poor squander in impatience, the powerful sacrifice in silence and reap in abundance. The difference is not fate nor luck, but discipline and strategy. Understand this: money is not loyal to the weak nor to the desperate. It follows strength. It chases those who know how to shape perception, those who multiply their influence, those who refuse to bow to dependency, those who sharpen their minds into blades, and those who build for the future while others waste the present. If you master these, you will not chase wealth. It will chase you. It will pursue you as soldiers pursue a victorious general, as allies pursue a strong prince, as shadows pursue the body that casts them. You will not be its servant. You will be its master.